I'm sharing this image, but now let's share that. All right. All right, but we don't need to watch me. So we'll put that down there. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started here for those of you in attendance and anybody who ends up watching the video. So the handout that you all just got is a link to what you may already be aware of is something called a LibGuide, which basically is the site that I created years ago for Phi Theta Kappa, but it has all of the links that'll help you with research specifically for your theme 5, because I know that's what you're working on. Every single year I update it based on whatever theme you all are working on. And before I start, let me just say, I'm going to probably overwhelm you today, and anybody watching the video will also get overwhelmed, because what I do, and I kind of wrote my notes here to make sure I say this at the beginning and not forget, I'm giving you examples of a lot of places you can look through the library. I'm giving you a variety of different search tips. The tips I give you, you can use anywhere. So if I show you how to do something in one place, it doesn't mean you couldn't use that search tip somewhere else in another library resource. But the main thing that I want you to feel is not overwhelmed and know that you don't have to use everything I show you. All the tips, all the different places, it doesn't mean you have to do all of them. It just means these are available to you, and maybe you'll remember some of them for down the road. So I know you've probably already got the link somewhere else from your fine folks in Phi Theta Kappa, but this link on the sheet of paper that you received has the URL to the guide that we created, but it's also available if you go to the library's website. There's a link on the library's website that says LibGuides. And from the LibGuides dropdown, you can go through, it says, which guide do you need? There's an alphabetical listing of all the courses that we've built LibGuides for, but if you get down far enough, you'll eventually find the one for Phi Theta Kappa. Now there's two. There is a local one and a regional one. The regional one is more generic, just for all of the Carolinas. That was requested a few years ago, so we built that. But the one that you would want is the one for your local chapter, so make sure you choose the one that says local in the name. If you're going through this way, you can also just type in the address to the URL that's on the sheet of paper that you received. That will also get you to this exact same page here. I tapped something. Sorry, Yang. I got a little too close to the screen. So if you type in the URL or you click through like I just did, they're both going to get you to the exact same place. And what we're going to basically do is just kind of bounce around on the guide today, and I'll show you a couple things. I will go in order, though. It doesn't mean that when you come here, you might not jump right ahead to the databases or something like that. That's perfectly fine. I just think it's easiest to explain things if you take things in order. And also, too, this can be very informal. If you have questions, if you want to stop me, if something doesn't make sense, by all means say so. If you say, hey, could you try this search or something like that, I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be, I mean, I have a plan, so we can go with the plan or we can wing it as we're going along here. So the Home tab is just a welcome page, just kind of basic information. It's got a link to your chapter's website, a link to the Honors in Action program guide, some basic videos about using the library. You're welcome to watch those. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I'm going to hit upon a lot of the things that are in these videos in the time that we're together here. So I know you all, this was something I was asking when we were waiting to start here, was have you all narrowed down? And I know you're in that process and you're going to be eventually getting there. But there are two tabs, more the second of the two tabs here, that could help you as you're conducting your research. So let me hit on the first one, which is the Search Tips tab. And basically, a lot of the things I'm going to go over and show you in the class today with regards to how to construct a really good search are explained on this tab here. So if you forget anything that I go over in the presentation today, there's a short video that talks about how to create a really good search. If videos aren't your thing, but you do better by reading, there's a box that kind of explains how to craft a really good search. And then there's another box that kind of explains how to also construct searches. So basically, I'm going to summarize what's on this page in a couple sentences. Basically, when you're conducting your research, you're going to eventually come up with a topic. You're going to narrow down your theme 5 to what you want to focus on. I kind of grabbed one from the actual write-up itself involving Catch and Kill by Media. So basically, think of it this way. The basis to research is you come up with a search topic. Once you come up with your search topic, break your search topic down into the main ideas. So I wrote this topic out right here. I broke it down into ideas like catch and kill, news, women, stories, pain. Just identified basically what are a couple keywords or key terms in your search. What I tell people is start with those. Consider those maybe the first ones you use in your research. But as you're either going along in your research, going along in your research, or as you're reading what other people are writing about the topic, you will probably come up with some other search terms, because there might be some other good search terms to use that you hadn't originally thought of. And a lot of times these are synonyms, but sometimes they're just related terms, because as you're going to see as we go along, trying different searches with different combinations of search terms is really going to make a big difference in your searching and helping you find information. Because sometimes it's just about hitting upon that one term that kind of unlocks everything and finds what you're looking for. I had a professor a few years ago who was in a workshop with the students, and I liked his terminology. He said, one of the reasons why you call these keywords is because they're like keys and they unlock the door to the information that you're looking for. So this is what you're going to want to kind of do. Come up with a topic, identify some search terms. Once you come up with your search terms, then it's about creating your search. And I'm going to show you as we go along how to do this, but the box on the left, the video, and then as we get a little bit longer here, explains kind of how to create a search. And basically, it's just about joining your search terms together in a search. But I don't want to get into too much detail with this because I'd rather actually show it to you, which is what I'm going to be doing as we get into the different library searches. Now, here's where the next tab where I said it's a little bit more specific to what you all are working on. So this is another thing that'll make a lot more sense in about 2 minutes when we start actually looking at some library resources. But whether you're looking at books or ebooks or articles, all library resources are cataloged using something called subject headings. And catalog means how they're organized together. And the subject headings are the words or the phrases that are associated with a source. And here's what I mean by that. Books about, let's see, let's find one here on the list here. Books where maybe somebody's telling an oral history. They might all be assigned the subject heading oral histories or oral history. Basically, it means all of those can be found very easily by searching under that term or those two words together in this case. And then all of the books that are under that subject will be found together if you search using that subject heading. So what I've done here, this is just, I know you haven't narrowed down your topic yet, but looking at theme 5, these are some of the terms that libraries use that you may want to search under that relate to theme 5. So you might find books, ebooks, articles, using some of these here, like digital storytelling might be one, like if you focus on something related to social media. That's a term you may not necessarily have thought of, but items are cataloged under digital storytelling, and that could help you find a lot of related topics. So there might just be a word or a phrase in here that kind of jumps out to you. This was one that I found, narrative therapy, using storytelling about your life as a form of therapy. That's even one of the searches I'm going to be doing today. So narrative medicine was another one that I found that was kind of interesting. So just kind of keep these in mind. You don't have to use these, but I'm telling you that these are ones that are possible search terms to use as you're going along in your research. All right, so with all that being said, and obviously there's some of these tabs have quite a bit of writing on them, as you can see. I'm not going in and reading it for you, but do know that you could, as you're doing your research and you're on these guides, if you want to read the little write-ups we've given you that could help you, you're welcome to do so. All right, so the books tab. This is the one I'm going to probably spend the shortest amount of time on for a couple of reasons. One, this is the tab that'll tell you what our 3 libraries have available to you. So the first thing I would say is this is going to be your smallest place for research. We have way more ebooks and way more articles, which is what you're going to find through the databases tab. Way more ebooks, way more articles than we do anything physically in the library. So that's the main reason why I'm going to be spending a shorter amount of time here. The second reason is it takes a while for books to get published. So if you're looking for the latest information, your best bet's going to be articles, which is why this is the tab I'm going to spend probably the most amount of time on, the databases tab, because that's where you find articles, it's where you find the most recent information. But we will start out with the books tab since, again, it's the first one that comes up here. What I would tell you is if you are looking to see if we have any books in our library, because we're not a huge library, we're not USC or Harvard or anything like that, keep your search as basic as possible to give yourself the best chance at finding information. I'm going to do a search here for storytelling. That's very, very broad. But you'll see that my list of results is not going to be enormous. It's not small, but it's not going to be this unwieldy list of resources that are found. So I got 2,400 results that came back. But here's the thing that I did want to tell you if you are using our library's catalog. When you search our library catalog, it will tell you what we own physically in our libraries, but it will also give you access to some of our ebooks. And this is a little confusing for students because they maybe see this book and they go, oh, that sounds great. I want to look at that book. And I want to go get it from the library. If it says available online, it's not in our library. It's an ebook. Now, really easy to use. You could just click that available online and you could go in and you can look at the book. But if your intent was solely to see what we have in our library, all you got to do, there's a box over here that says held by library. If you check that, it'll get rid of all of those ebooks and you'll be left with only the physical books that we have in our library, in which case we go from 2,000 some books down to 195 books. So it will vastly lower that list because we do have more ebooks than we do physical print books in the library. So let's say that one of these looked good. The Storytelling Animal, How Stories Make Us Human. It's a book from our library. If that book looked good to you, you could obviously get it from us. If it was at another campus, you can have it transferred to our library. All you have to do, there's a button right here that says sign in, and you sign in with your MyHGTC information, and then you can ask that we transfer it between campuses, and usually about 2 days we'll have it moved to our library. But here's the thing that I wanted to say. One is a repeat of something I just said, but then I'm going to add something onto it. So with regards to books, it takes a lot longer to publish a book than it does an article. So a lot of times with regards to books, you're not going to find a ton of brand new books on the topic. Like this one you can see is 12 years old. So just be aware of that when you're looking at books in our library. But the one thing that I will tell you that's nice is books tend to have very extensive references lists. So whereas maybe you're not going to read this entire book, one thing that might be a decent idea is if a book looks good to you, go look at it in the library, go to the back of the book, and see what the list of references is. Because they might reference, let's say, an article that sounds great to you, and maybe, well, again, you're not going to maybe read this entire book, maybe that article that they referenced in this book could be a really good one to take a look at. And either maybe you can track it down, or, and I'll talk about this later, you can always reach out to me and I will help you track anything down. You can just send me and say, hey, there's this really good looking article that was referenced in this book. are you able to find that article? And I will help you get the article. We can always do that for you. In fact, we've been doing that for years and years for the Phi Theta Kappa students. I'll show you again how you can do that in just a moment. So just know that's the idea with the library catalog, is that you're looking for physical materials in the library, but you will get some ebooks unless you check here where it says held by library, and then you can narrow that list down. The one thing I will mention, let me actually go back to this one. If you remember just a moment ago, I told you all library materials, books, articles, ebooks, they're all assigned subject headings to kind of group them all together. So anytime you go in and you're looking at a source from the library, somewhere on the page there's going to be a section where you'll see, it might say subjects or subject headings or something along that terminology. So this book has been assigned the subjects storytelling and literature and science. So just know, again, whether you're looking at a book, an article, whatever it may be, if you find one you go, hey, this looks really interesting. I like the looks of this one. I wonder if there's anything similar to this one available through the library. You can always click on those and it'll find like items. So if I wanted all the other books that are assigned literature and science, I can click on this and it's going to give me all the other books that have that exact same subject assigned to it. Some of them may be relevant. That one, I think, is a little bit. It might be hard to read, unless that is your first language, perhaps. But sometimes there could be ones that would be exactly what you happen to be looking for. While I'm here, actually, let me just mention, I think it's at the bottom of this webcam's in the way. Yeah, down here, so I mentioned, we're still on the books tab here. Down here on the right, there is a link that says Interlibrary Loan Form Request. So if you at any point stumble upon the name of the book, the name of an article, or anything that looks good to you, but you can't find it and you can't access it, two options. One is you can go to this link right here and you can submit a request for the name of that book or the name of that article, and we will try and find it for you. This is just like an online form, obviously, so you have to fill in all the different boxes. Your other option is, actually, on the Get Help tab of the guide, my email address is the very first one listed right there. If you just want to send me an email, I am totally cool with that. I'll be honest, that's what most of the Phi Theta Kappa students have done in the past, is they just send me an email. But if you prefer just to fill out a form, you're welcome to use that link that I showed you just a moment ago, and we can get it for you either one of those ways. So one last thing I will mention to you that's on the books tab. There's a link to something called Pascal Delivers. You may not be aware of this, but we have a service where you can search not just our library. This link at the top of the books tab searches only our library's catalog. But if you want to see what all the other colleges and universities in South Carolina have, there is a service called Pascal Delivers where you can search all of the other libraries at one time. And not only that, but you can ask that they send their books that you want to us free of charge. It does take about a week for the book to get here, so you do have to not wait until the day before you need it. But if you do have the time to wait, which obviously this is the kind of more of a long-term project, so this might be an option for you. But if there was a book that you were looking for, this is the quickest way to get the book, and you can do this all on your own. This is not for articles. This is strictly, though, for books. That's why it's on the books tab. But Pascal is super easy to use because it looks exactly like our library catalog. The only thing that you have to do, this is a little bit confusing, is when you get here, you do have to check the radio box that says Pascal Delivers. And what that basically does is it tells this search all the other libraries now for me and tell me what they have. So if I did a search here for storytelling, it would tell me what all the other libraries in South Carolina, colleges and universities, not public libraries, colleges and universities, it'll tell me what they have available on the topic. Now again, just like with our library, there are ebooks as well as physical books that come back. So if you want to just find the physical books, it's the same as using ours. You check held by library and you'll see that there are over 5,000 books about storytelling available around the state of South Carolina. And you could request any one of these that you see listed here just by clicking on it. And then there'll be an option to request the book be sent to our library. All right, so that is all. Unless you have any questions for the books tab, I'll move on to the next one. Great. Okay, so the ebooks tab. So with this one, it's fairly self-explanatory, obviously. This would be if you want to look for any ebooks through the library. And we have a couple different companies that we get ebooks from. The two biggies, one's called eBook Central. That's called EBSCO ebook collection. There's about 400,000 to 500,000 books at this point between the two of them. These numbers I think are a little bit low at this point. We could actually bump those up. So these are the two biggest ones that you can search. And let me give you a little bit more, or give you your first big search tip. And not to say that this is one you'll use a lot, but this is one of my favorite ones when I don't know how to type a word in. And here's what I mean by that. I know how to spell the word, but maybe I'm not sure how the word should look. The first couple searches I've done so far have been storytelling. But what if I think storyteller or storytellers is a better search term? You might think, well, you've got to do 3 different searches. You don't. If you don't know this tip, this is one of my favorite ways to search if I'm not sure. All you have to do is type in the base of the word, and it doesn't have to even be a word that is an actual word in the dictionary. But if I'm thinking about storytelling, storyteller, storytellers, all of those start with storytell. If I put just storytell in and then throw an asterisk at the end of that, what that's going to do, and you can use this in any place you do your research, it's going to bring up any results that have any words that start with this. So it's going to get all of those different variations of the word that I just mentioned. The asterisk just says anything can come after this. There could be 50 letters after this. There isn't a word that starts with storytell and has 50 letters, but if there were, it would find that specific word. So every one of my results that comes back is going to have either storytelling, storyteller, storytellers, any one of those words or any other ones that I'm not even thinking of could come back. So this is a kind of like an all-in-one search for when you're not sure what the right way to search a term, to put a term in is. And I say that because let me actually go back. I'm gonna bore you with numbers here. So storytellers gave me 14,000 results. Storyteller gives me 21,000 results. Storytelling gives me 48,000 results. But if I do that thing I just showed you with the asterisk, I'm getting all of them together. Now there is some overlap because I know those 3 numbers together don't total this number, but because there is some overlap. But you can see this was the result, the search result that gave me the most, because I've given myself all of those different variations of the word. Now, when you find one that looks good, I think it was that 4th one that looked good. No, it's on page 2. And by the way, too, I should say, since you all are still not really sure about your topic, this isn't a bad idea either to do very, very basic searches and then see some of the things that come up in the results, because there might be something that comes up in the results, like this one, critical storytelling in millennial times. Undergraduates share their stories of struggle. And that might all of a sudden raise something in your mind and go, oh, maybe there's a story about students talking about the struggle of going to college, and maybe it spurs an idea somehow along those lines. Now, if you already have a narrowed down topic, obviously you would search the narrowed down topic, but this is kind of another way to kind of let the research sometimes guide what you want to go with in terms of your topic. All right, I'm clearly getting, oh, I know what I forgot. There's a reason why I'm not getting the results I thought. So one of the things that you should always pay attention to with library resources is somewhere on the page there's going to be an area where you can narrow down the date of publication. Because I know the newer, the better for all of you. And that's really true in almost all research outside of maybe history, that you really should try and consult the most recent information. So if I want, right now I've got all dates published. But if I wanted, I could refine my results or narrow down my results to include a specific year of publication. So maybe I only want results that are from the 2020s. I could just narrow myself down to those years, hit apply, and now my results list is actually dramatically down, 57,000 down to 6,000 results. So it's going to be far more, well, relatively more manageable. 6,000 is still a lot, but that is more manageable. And now I think hopefully page 2 will have the one that I was hoping to see. Not that it matters. I literally could pick any result here and it doesn't matter. There it is. Narrative subject, storytelling in the age of the internet. So the other thing that I did just want to mention to you, and this is true whether it's a print book or it's an ebook, is don't be kind of bogged down thinking, oh, I'm going to read an entire book. I don't have time for that. So you might just want one specific chapter in the book. This chapter 2 looked interesting. Storytelling as a cultural practice and life form. So maybe you just want to look at one chapter in the book, and that'll kind of cover what you might have been looking for. And then a lot of times you can see, even here, they've got citations within the chapter itself, and some usually in the book, this is kind of nice actually, these are telling you the years. The years are highlighted so you can see kind of when, if maybe a newer one jumps out to you. But either at the end of the book, or, and I know I'm going to make you all dizzy, at the end of this chapter, they will list for you all of those citations. So again, this is kind of like chasing down sources, because this might be a decent source, but then maybe one of the sources that they consulted also is one that leads you to really good information. All right, this is going to take me forever to eventually find it, but just trust me, either at the end of this chapter or at the end of the book, they're going to have a list of all the sources that they consulted that all of these citations are referencing. Oh, the other nice thing too about ebooks is ebooks do also have a search within feature. So if there's a word or a phrase that you want to find in the book, you can find it very, very quickly. You can just use that search within the book feature, and then they're going to tell you all the different pages that that word appeared on. So I searched for the word connections. Maybe you want to focus on how storytelling helps people make connections. 18 times the word comes up, and I can see every single one of the times the word appears in every single one of these chapters. So ebooks are really easy to navigate with these added features in them. And quickly, let me show you the other one. Let me just show you EBSCO ebook collection. I'm really not concerned as much with showing you this physical resource. It's more about I want to give you another search tip while I'm here. So again, I'm showing it to you here, but know that whether you're looking at articles or anything else on the library's website, you can use this for all of those different options. So let's start out. I promise I'm going to get away from using storytelling so much, but this is probably my last search with storytelling. So in here, I type in storytelling. I got about 1,500 ebooks that come back. So one of the main reasons why I told you at the beginning is when you come up with your topic, one of the reasons why you want to identify some different search terms within your topic is chances are a search using just one phrase or one single term like this is going to give you too many results. you want to actually use those different search terms that are part of your topic. And here's how you do it. Let's say you want to focus on storytelling, but maybe you want to focus on storytelling on something very specific. I'll put storytelling and Facebook. What the and does is and joins together this word and this word so that every result that comes back includes them. But the reason the and is helpful is they don't have to appear side by side. When you put the and between them, it tells any library resource, give me results with both these words, but I don't care if they're this far apart. I don't care if they're this far apart. They just have to both appear in every result that comes back. So storytelling in Facebook gave me 8 results. Maybe I'm being too specific. Maybe Facebook isn't the best search term. And this is kind of the line of thinking with searching. Let's do social media. Now I'm up to 88 results. Now, this isn't required, but I will give you another search tip. Whenever you're typing in a phrase, if those words are ones that you say, I want them to stay together, I don't want those words to be separated in any way, I want them to be searched exactly as I type them. Quotation marks are what you can use there. So now it's telling me, or I'm telling this library resource, give me everything that has the word storytelling and the exact phrase social media. So storytelling in Facebook was 8 results, storytelling in social media is 32 results. And again, specifically social media, the phrase. And again, maybe you go, all right, this is decent, I'm seeing some good stuff, but maybe one of these results here gives me this search term as a suggestion, and I say, yep, let me try that, digital storytelling. And maybe that's got some information that would be useful to me. So it's really, this is kind of how you do searching. It's try after try after try till you find what you're looking for. You're not always going to hit upon a great search, but maybe your 5th one in is the search that suddenly produces results of what you're looking for. And you may have noticed this is actually something that some of the library's resources do. Google does this, so it's not a big surprise that library resources do it too, is they have suggested searching. Doesn't mean you have to go with what they give you, but these are just some searches that they're telling you, these are ones you may want to try that might lead to some information. Like here's one, this is kind of a neat one. This is a search where it's doing a search for a bunch of different possible ways of typing in this topic. Digital storytelling, or digital story, or digital stories. And it's giving me basically 5 different searches in one, because that's what that or does. If you put or between your search terms, it tells the library resource, give me any one of these results. I don't care which ones come up, but just give me anything that comes up with any of those possible options that you see right there. Like this one, digital storytelling and adolescent girls or teenage girls or female adolescents. So it's giving me like kind of different options as possible searches. Again, you don't have to go with what they give you, but this is just an option that if you were interested, you could use one of their suggested searches. All right, one last ebook collection. And I will say that I'm, as I said earlier, I'm going to show you these things in order. But this honestly is not one of those sources that I would tell you to wait on using. This would be one of the first ones I would tell you to use. And the main reason why I would tell you to look at it first is because it's great for helping you come up with related or similar search terms. It's called Credo Reference, and Credo is basically, it's an ebook collection, but it's a collection of just things like encyclopedias and dictionaries. So it's not real in-depth what it gives you, but it's got a really cool feature that is called the mind map. It's got a crazy name, it doesn't really matter. But I do, like I said, I think this is the last time, this is it for storytelling. It's the last search with storytelling. All the other ones will be something else. So what Credo does is it gives you entries where basically it's just background information. So if you want to know about storytelling from the Encyclopedia of Communication Therapy, you can read that entry. If you want to read about storytelling from, let's find another one here that's a decent length. The Oxford Companion to Fairy Tales. There's the entry on storytelling from that particular book. But here's the section that I kind of like. Over here on the right-hand side, they put whatever you search for in a map, and they give you some related search terms that you could, and all of these can be clicked on, where you can learn more about that topic from other results. So if I look at this list and go, oh, digital storytelling, I can click on that, and I'll get results out of books about digital storytelling. So this, what I was saying was this kind of gives you some other search terms that you may not have thought of. I had never heard of the word narratology, but apparently that's the science of narrative, and was something that I discovered as I was obviously planning this search for seeing you all today. So maybe that leads you down a path of something, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't know what that was. That's something I maybe want to incorporate in my research. So again, nothing super in-depth here, but it can lead to some related concepts and some possible new search terms. All right. There's a few other ebook collections on this page. I'm not going to get into them. I'm already giving you a lot of information. All right, any questions there before I move on to the last biggie of the day? Good. Okay, the databases. So it took me a long time to get here, but this is honestly where I think you're going to do most of your research. If you've never used a library database before, basically when you think of a library database, think of it as a place to go to find information that was once published in one of these three places: newspapers, magazines, or journals. The journals, though, this is the kicker. That's probably your best bet in research, because journal articles are two things. Number one, they're usually where the newest research is published. And second of all, they are usually written by people who are experts or scientists of some type in that particular field. And when I say scientists, don't necessarily think like a biologist. It could be somebody who studies linguistics and they focus on stories and things like that. And that would be related to what I'm talking about. So newest research, experts in the field. A phrase that you'll often hear with regards to journals is that journals are where you find peer-reviewed articles, and they are the cream of the crop of research, because peer-reviewed articles are ones where somebody writes the article, or a group of people write the article, they submit it to a journal, and a group of their peers review the article at the journal, determine if it's scholarly, if their research was accurate and done correctly, and then if it is, it gets published, if the journal itself wants to publish it. So the process for those articles getting written is very extensive, which makes those journals, those articles, those peer-reviewed ones, the best. If you can find peer-reviewed, you're really doing a great job, and it's easy to find them using the library's databases. So I'm going to show you how. But first, let's talk about the layout of this page. So we have about 90 different databases through the library that you can find articles through. This page does not have all 90. It only has about a dozen or so. And they're over here on the left-hand side. We have a box that says general databases and a box that says miscellaneous databases. So the general databases are the biggest ones that we have, meaning they have the most articles in them. They're also the most broad in their coverage, from humanities to sciences to everything else that you can think of. These could be used for just about any topic going. And the two that have the most articles in them, it's super easy to remember. They're the two at the top, and they're the two that have academic at the beginning of their name. So in terms of your research, I would start with these two: Academic OneFile and Academic Search Premier. Since I'm on this one, I'll go ahead and click on that one first, but I'm going to show you both of them. So with regards to Academic Search Premier, if you ever use the library's resources, our databases, even one of our ebook collections. A lot of our resources are made by a company called EBSCO, and their search screen looks the same no matter what source you go into. So if you're ever in a library resource and you go, wait, I think I've been here before, the search screen may look like this, but what you're actually searching in EBSCO is always listed for you right here. So you can see I'm in Academic Search Premier, but if I go in another EBSCO source, it's going to look just like this. The only thing that'll be different is that set of words right there. So again, I will potentially have suggested searches, or maybe I have a search already in mind. This was, again, one of the things that I saw as I was doing my research or preparation for showing you what I wanted to show you, that there's therapy that involves the telling of your story, your life story. So narrative therapy might be a good search term if that was what you were looking for. Now, I want to keep those words together, so I did put them in quotation marks. And you can see I've got 525 results that came back. But keep in mind, you can add to that. As you add more to your search, you can put the and in there, and you can add something else to the search itself. You can even find two of the things I said to you. So here's a search where I'm basically telling the library resource, look for the phrase narrative therapy, and every result that comes back not only has to have that phrase, it also has to have some variation of a word that starts with MEDIC. It could be medical, medically, medicine, any version of those words will come back because I've done MEDIC with an asterisk. So narrative therapy gave me 500 results. I added another search term to it, and I've been more specific, and now it's brought me down to 104 results that were found. Now, remember I mentioned peer-reviewed articles. Right now I've got a list of articles. Probably a good number of these are peer-reviewed, but I cannot be guaranteed that all of them are peer-reviewed articles, and it couldn't be easier to limit yourself that way. So 104 results, but if you look over here on the left, there's a button that says peer-reviewed. All of our databases have this. Sometimes it's on the left, sometimes it's on the right, but there's always going to be a button that says peer-reviewed, and if you check that, it'll get rid of the articles that are not peer-reviewed, and now you're left solely with, as I said, the cream of the crop of articles, 96 peer-reviewed journal articles. I can further narrow that down if I want to limit by the date that they were published. I can do that. You can see there's a nice slider wheel here, so I can maybe slide it up to, I'll do 2019. So now I'm down to 39. I got 39 articles that match this search, all peer-reviewed, all published in this date range that you see listed here. So you can really kind of get your list down to a very, very manageable number when you kind of play around with those different options. Here was one, good, number 15, turned up for me. So I know we've got I guess isn't the veterans area still back in your area back by that? You may not know. Where Professor Caraway's office is, I think the Veterans Center is also back in that area of this building, or at least it used to be. Maybe it's moved. But anyway, my point in saying that is, here's an article that talks about using life narration for veterans in dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. So kind of using, narrating their life stories to help them deal with PTSD. Again, peer-reviewed article. With regards to peer-reviewed articles, just be aware, if you don't already know this about them, this is about the average length, I would say. 14 pages. I'd say that's a good ballpark number. You might find some that are 8 or 9 pages. You might find some that are 26, 27 pages long, 30 pages long. Peer-reviewed articles, you're never going to find that one-page peer-reviewed article. They're always going to be rather lengthy. So just be aware of that. But that's great because it means they're going to be chock full of information. Couple nice things about this. Number one, articles always come with an abstract. What the abstract does is it tells you what this article is about. So instead of reading 7 pages into this 14-page article and going, wait, this doesn't help me at all, this isn't what I want, if you read the abstract and you go, this sounds perfect, it's exactly what I'm looking for, then chances are you'll end up reading all of the article. And by saying all of the article, if you get to a page in our databases and you're like, where the heck is the article? I don't see it. Somewhere on the page, there's going to be a link to the PDF. And if you just click on the PDF, then that will obviously give you the article itself, as you can see it listed right here. The other thing that I did want to mention to you is that just like with the books, which I mentioned earlier, and I didn't show it in the ebooks, but it would have been there as well, everything is always assigned subject headings. So if you want to find related ones, maybe narrative inquiry is something that's interesting. I don't know exactly what that is, but if it was something that interested you, you could click on that link and it would give you all the other articles that cover that particular subject. And then here's one thing I have yet to point out, but you'll find this in every library resource, whether it's an ebook or an article or what have you. There's always going to be a cite button. We just talked about the citing when Paulette was here at the beginning, but the cite button will give you a suggested APA style citation for the source. But here's the one thing I do want to warn you, since obviously from that discussion we had before we started, how important the APA citation is. These are computer generated, so it's still up to you to double check them. They generally always put things in the right spot. It's not like they put the author at the end when they should be at the beginning. They get that part right. The thing that they sometimes get wrong is capitalization. Sometimes they under or over capitalize. So as you're looking at this, just make sure that it looks right to you. One of the big things they tend to do with APA, the titles of the articles, you only capitalize first word of the title, or first letter of the title, first letter of the subtitle, and then any proper nouns. This one nothing's jumping out to me, but sometimes they over capitalize and they capitalize every single word in the title. So while they give you a good citation, you still have to double check it to make sure there's nothing to fix with regards to at least capitalization of the source. The other nice thing that I like is the email feature. I'm going to get really technical on you here, but one of the things that students make a huge mistake with library resources is that they assume they're like the internet. If you found a website and you liked a website and you wanted to share it with everyone, you'd usually just come up here, copy that, and text it or email it to everybody. Library resources don't work this way because we pay for these sources. They're not readily available for free for everyone to access. So this URL only works for you as you're looking at it. Same for me. This is only working right now for me. But if I email this to my brother in Oklahoma, he can't get into it. It's a temporary URL. It doesn't work. It will only work right now for me. So a long-winded way of saying that, because again, we pay for it. These aren't just available to everyone. My long-winded thing that I'm trying to get to is there's always going to be a button that says email. And if you find something that you say, hey, I want everyone else to look at this, you can click on the email feature and just put in all the email addresses, or at least someone's email address. Maybe even your own, if you want to keep a copy of this in your inbox so you don't have to go back and find this again in the future. Email it to yourself, and then you have access down the road to get to the item. Or, again, sharing it with the group if you want to do it that way. So it's basically just, took me 3 minutes to say, don't copy the address, use the email feature. Yeah, that was it for that one. Oh, no, I take it back. I apologize. There was one other thing I wanted to show you there. So I'm going to get, again, I just said this exact phrase a moment ago, but I'm going to say it again. I'm going to get really technical on you. So I mentioned that EBSCO makes a lot of the library's resources. Right above the search box, when you're in, I just clicked on this a moment ago, Academic Search Premier. If you're ever in any library resource made by this company, there's always going to be a link right under that that says Choose Databases. These are all the different products we get from them. You can see it's a huge list. If you want, you can actually search all of them at one time. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's overwhelming. You can hit select all, and you can search all of them at once. It doesn't really change the way the screen looks, it's just going to give you more results. But whereas one search, if you search just that one database, maybe you get 500 results. Maybe you search all of them and you get 35,000. If you're okay with kind of navigating your way around a very large list of results, fine, do this. But if you want to keep it very simple, then you maybe just want to choose just that one database that you intended to use with EBSCO. But I just wanted you to know that that was an option if you wanted to take advantage of it. And it's available in, here's, both of these are also made by EBSCO, so you'll see it looks exactly the same. There's the one that I'm in, but I could choose to search. I could search just two if I wanted. I wanted to search maybe this one and this one, perfectly fine. You can do just a combination if you want of a couple, or you can search all of them at once. Academic OneFile. This database is made by a different company. You have not seen this company yet, so this search screen looks different, but the concept remains exactly the same. There's nothing in this one that's different than anything else that I've shown you yet. So let's do, I'm going to combine three terms together. Me Too and Silenced and Stories. I stole that one directly from the write-up itself, saw it in there, and it was a good search because it gave me some good results here. So again, when you first come in, you're going to get a mixture of different types of articles. If you want to limit to only the peer-reviewed journal articles, again, sometimes it's on the left, sometimes it's on the right. When you click that, then you get your list down to just that cream of the crop of articles. With this one, your date range is right here. It says I can limit or filter by a specific date range. This is more of a search tip that's only relevant in any databases that look like this. So they give you that annoying calendar. I hate dealing with the calendar. It's relatively easy in terms of the starting date. So I might say I want to start with anything published in 2019. But here's the thing that's somewhat confusing. So if you know anything about journals and magazines, not newspapers, but journals and magazines, a lot of times the issues, like let's say the August issue for a magazine might already be out. It's the same with journals. There might be a July-August issue that's already out, or an August/September issue that's already out. Even though we haven't reached those months yet, a lot of times they come out a little bit earlier than the words on the actual journal itself. So again, I'm being very long-winded in telling you, here's a tip that I love. Put any year in the future. It does not matter. I usually just go 1 year in the future, but you could put 2064. It doesn't matter here. So what that basically does is it covers all of the rest of this year. So if a July issue, an August issue, or anything like that has already been released, you're covered. You're getting all of it. Again, I tend to always just go 1 year in the future, and then I'm covered for the rest of this year. Anything that's got a 2024 publication date will be covered. So now I went from 132 down to 124, and now all of these are peer-reviewed articles published in that specific date range that I was looking for. And again, now you find a good one, you can just go ahead and click on it, and it will either take you to the article, but if you don't see the article, look for the PDF link somewhere on the page. And again, don't forget, there'll always be a cite button, and then there'll be an email button. If you don't see the words email, either look for send, share, or an image of an envelope, and any one of those is going to give you the option to send it to other people. Again, as a reminder, that will not work. Send them that. All right. I'm not going to do any other database searches, but do you all have any questions about searching the databases? Okay. So there's others on the page. I told you, I'm not going to go into any of these, but these are the general ones. Use them for any imaginable topic that you all are working on with regards to this theme. The ones down here are more specific in what they are searching. I don't know if they're all relevant, but I picked ones that I thought might be relevant to you. So I tend to say the psychology one has a good chance of being somewhat related to what you all work on. This one, religion and philosophy, might be. Again, all of the journals and publications in these are focused in those specific areas. Criminal justice, possibly, depending upon what you pick. This one is very internationally based. So if you want to look at things from beyond just the US, you might want the global issues one. And then I threw a couple history ones on there if you're going for anything historically based. Probably those have the least chance of being useful to you, but I threw them on there just in case. If you want, though, and here's going to totally overwhelm you, I said we have 90 plus databases. Right here it says click here to view a full list of the library's databases. So we're actually at an even 100 now. It fluctuates from time to time as we pick new ones up or ones go away, but we hover right around that number. So we have databases in all sorts of different subjects. They're all listed here, but if you wanted, you could go in here and you might say, even though I didn't put it on this page here, but if you want to go in here and you, let's say, want to search all of our health databases, you could go search the health databases. If you want to search the education databases, you can search those. So we have other ones, but I didn't want to overwhelm you and put too many of them on this page. One last thing that's on this page, though, and this is thoroughly confusing to a lot of people. We have a product called Journal Search. If you go to the library's website and you click on the databases tab of the library website, there's a link to it here. This is one of the most confusing things for students because the product is called Journal Search, but it doesn't actually search journal articles. Here's what this one does. I didn't actually do this. Let me go back and I'm going to quickly do one search here. Hold on a second, gang. It does not matter. I'm just going to bring up any article. All right, this. Let me at least have it look relevant. Peer reviewed. Okay, so let's say you found a journal article, and this one's peer reviewed. At the end of all journal articles, just like with books, you're always going to find that references list. These are the sources that they consulted. You may find a really good looking, let's say, article in the references list. Maybe this article looked really good to you, a journal article out of a journal called Frontiers in Psychology. If you looked at that and you said, hey, I wonder if I can access that article. Sometimes they give you a link, and the link might actually lead to the article, but it also sometimes doesn't, because now you're leaving and you're going to the internet, and you may have to pay for it. So let's say that you wanted to see if you had access to this article. It comes out of something called Frontiers in Psychology. If you go to the library's website, this again is really complex, but I'm just mentioning it to you. On the databases tab, you can go to Journal Search, and with Journal Search, what you do is you search for the name of a journal. Not a topic, but a journal. So in this case, I know there's an article in Frontiers in Psychology from, was it 2022, I think it was? I'm not seeing it. I'm away from looking at it from a different angle. Where'd it go? There it is. So it's an article from 2022. I don't know if we get Frontiers in Psychology. I did not plan this, so we'll find out. So with Journal Search, I can search for Frontiers in Psychology, and it doesn't look like we do have it. But if we did, it would tell me where we have access to it. I'm sure it would have come up number one on the list. So it didn't come up, so we don't have access to it. But if we did, it would tell me where we have access and what dates we have access to for that particular publication. Let me do a search so you can, let me find one that we do have. Journal of American Culture. So it's telling you like that one we have access from 93 to 99, and I can go access it here. This one we have from 2003 to the present. I can go access it here. So you'll see that with these, it'll tell you what years we have access to the particular source. So just know this link that I've put on your guide for journal search is not about searching journals. It's about searching to see if we have access to a specific journal. Last two things on this tab. Coastal's library. I will briefly mention to you that you have access to their library. Our students have access to their library. Their students have access to our library. You can't access their online resources. I think you can in the library, but you can't from off campus like you can with our library's resources. You can access our library's resources on or off campus. So if you wanted to just see what their hours are or what databases they are, we put links for that here. The other thing that's here is, here are just some sample articles. These not necessarily are ones that will be ones you use, but if you're kind of looking for some ideas, these are all articles related to Theme 5 that are peer-reviewed journal articles from 2014 to the present. So within the last 10 years related to Theme 5. All right, I know you're like, wow, he's got 4 tabs left. I'm going to zip through these very fast. Films on Demand, Canopy. These are the library's 2 streaming video services. If you want to look for academic videos, not things that are freely on YouTube, you're welcome to search either one of these. I will tell you though, there wasn't a whole lot that I found, but as you narrow yours down, you might get into a topic for which there is information. But I just put some of the sample ones. There was a fair bit on the Me Too movement, which is mentioned in Theme 5. But you're welcome to use these, but it'll all depend on what topic you pick. As a side note, Films on Demand is all academic videos. Canopy is academic videos plus films. So if you want a place to watch some movies for free, you can use our Canopy service, and there's films in there. The websites tab, this is obviously not library-based. This is the internet. But if you are going to search the internet for anything scholarly, I would recommend either using, Google's fine. I mean, Google's probably the best option, but I wouldn't say a basic Google search. Either search Google Books or Google Scholar. Google Scholar searches the internet for freely available articles. But when I say freely available, sometimes they aren't freely available, and that's somewhat frustrating. And I'll show you my last search here, what I wanted to, how I can explain that to you. So let's do narrative therapy as a search. With Google Scholar, if you see the words PDF or the letters PDF over here on the right, you're going to have access to that article. But if you don't see it, they may charge you or ask you to pay to view that particular source. So like here's one, nothing over here on the right. If I click on this, what is narrative therapy and how can it help health humanities? That maybe looks good, but you can see right here, it says if you want to access that article, you got to buy it for $40. Don't ever do that. This is a great, Google Scholar is really good for discovering things. In some instances, sorry gang, I wanted to hit the back button. In some instances, you might be led to a great looking article that you actually have access to. It can happen. But in some instances, the article looks good, but like I said just a moment ago, you don't have access to it. So this would be a great time to either ask me or to submit that online form to see if we can get a great looking article for you from whatever avenues we we'll use to get it for you. That service is free, by the way. I don't think I ever used that word, but it does. You can get as many articles as you want. We will gladly just reach out and try and find it from wherever we can get it from. And then again, just like I did with the databases tab, where it had sample articles here, these are some sample resources related to Theme 5 that were found using Google Scholar. And the titles here, and then whatever the source was that it came out of, is through that little eye feature right there. It'll tell you where it came from. Last two tabs very quickly. There is a tab on APA that if you do have questions related to it, there could be some examples or some links on this page that could help you with your APA citations. But if there's research help you need, I know I went here earlier, but I will kind of go over again what's here. So the Get Help tab has all the methods for contacting the library. Most of these are more generic in that you'll get some library employee, like our chat service, if you're